Welcome back to Xbox Corner, my name's Luke, and with 2022 coming to a close, this year has been pretty solid for Xbox Game Pass, with some huge plays made by Microsoft, including the acquisition of Activision Blizzard, if that one ever goes through. But when it comes to the games, there have been some really great releases, and 2023 is set to be even bigger. And so today on the channel we're going to be taking a look at our top 10 most anticipated Game Pass releases in 2023. With that said though, as always, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for weekly deals, reviews, Game Pass content and more, and let's get started. So first up on our list we have Monster Hunter Rise. Previously a Nintendo Switch and PC exclusive, this one is set to drop in January for both the Xbox Series X and S and Xbox One, as well as the PlayStation consoles. Now if you're a fan of the Monster Hunter series, I'll be teaching you to suck eggs here, but these games generally see you travelling the world as a hunter and tasked with slaying or capturing huge monsters, and from the carcasses crafting powerful weapons and armour, which in turn allow you to hunt even bigger monsters. Monster Hunter Rise doesn't necessarily break the mould in terms of its basic gameplay loop, but it does bring a couple of new mechanics to the table, most notably being the wire bug, a kind of grappling hook which has interactions with different weapon types and can also be used to grapple monsters and take control of them for a short while. There's also a new tower defense style mode called Rampage introduced, and in addition to the cat-like palicos, this one also has a new doggo equivalent known as palamutes, so a nice bit of diversity when it comes to animal labour here. The Monster Hunter games have always been a personal favourite though, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of fans of the series out there glad to see this one finally receiving a port. Now February sees the release of Atomic Heart, an interesting looking first person shooter set in a bizarre utopian world which kind of gives me some of those Bioshock vibes, but it looks to feature a mixture of shooting and melee combat similar to Dying Light with the addition of the Power Glove, a utility gauntlet which appears to be far more useful than Nintendo's version as it allows you to manipulate gravity, freeze opponents into ice blocks or fry them with electricity. From what we know of the game though, it takes place in an alternate 1955 Soviet Union where after defeating the Nazis with advanced robot technologies, the USSR has gone on to develop a collective hive mind of robots known as the Collective, and as a mentally unstable KGB agent, it's your job to investigate a facility where things have gone a little tits up, with rogue robots and failed experiments now roaming its halls. On the whole though, it's a really interesting one to keep an eye on, especially if you enjoyed the Bioshock games and are looking for something similar. So if Elden Ring is anything to go by, gamers are just gluttons for punishment, and the popularity of Soulsborne just continues to grow, so much so that Team Ninja has now decided to get in on the action again, with their title Wo Long Fallen Dynasty set to release in early March. Having previously released the awesome Neo games, these guys are no strangers to the genre, and much like the previous release, Wo Long is sticking with the Eastern thematics with the game set in China's Han Dynasty era. Putting a new spin on the whole Three Kingdoms scenario though, this one is infested with demons, and as an unnamed militia soldier you'll be fighting for survival, utilising a wide variety of weapons alongside the secret Chinese art of the 5 phases, which grant you powerful magics, and also you'll have the ability to call upon divine beasts. The game looks absolutely phenomenal though. It's bound to be hard as nails and result in many a rage quit, but I for one am prepared to die, and From Software may just have some real competition on the hands with this one. 2021 saw the release of Forza Horizon 5, and for someone who doesn't really do driving games, I actually had a lot of fun tearing my way across its sandy deserts and through its dense jungle tracks. But for those who prefer more straight up simulation racing, Forza Motorsport looks set to fit that bill. Now, very little information has actually been given out about the game beyond its tasty looking trailer at the 2022 Xbox and Bethesda showcase, but from what we can tell, unlike Horizon, this one is entirely track based and includes plenty of world famous ones, features a wide variety of vehicles from modern hypers to classic track cars, and a fully dynamic day-night cycle which really plays into the whole simulation thing. The game's developers are already claiming that Forza Motorsport is the most technically advanced racing game ever made though, and while I will admit it looks incredible, it's still a pretty bold statement to make. But come spring we'll get to decide that for ourselves, or at least Alex will for the channel, so be sure to stay tuned for our verdict on the game. So another game which is scheduled for a spring release is Valheim, and this is one which since its release has seen a lot of popularity on Steam. Set in a procedurally generated world inspired by Norse mythology, Valheim sees you playing as a Viking and doing Viking-y type things like building Viking longhouses and boats and exploring a hostile landscape filled with mythological beasts and bloodthirsty monsters. As with other survival games, you can expect to be gathering ingredients and crafting materials, discovering new blueprints, allowing you to advance and expand your homestead and upgrade your equipment as you prepare to take down legendary monstrosities in your ultimate quest to prove yourself to Odin. Like many though, I've always been a big fan of the whole Viking thing and Norse mythology in general, and if you like your survival games, this one is definitely one to check out, but from what I hear it's best played online with a group of friends, so we may even have to get this one going on a live stream when it eventually releases. So earlier in the year the Anacrusis released to very little fanfare, and the year before that we had Back 4 Blood, successor to the Left 4 Dead games, which, while me and Alex enjoyed a few hours of, also left many feeling underwhelmed by its presentation and some questionable gameplay mechanics. But hope is not yet lost for the cooperative shooter genre, as Redfall is set to release at some point next year, and so far this one looks pretty promising. Ditching the played out zombie tropes and switching them up for some good old bloodsuckers, Redfall drops you into Redfall, an island town in Massachusetts under siege by a legion of vampires, and it's up to you and a team of 3 other survivors to fight back the night and discover what they want and why Redfall. Like other games of this ilk though, combat looks to have you fighting off hordes of enemies with a mixture of ranged weaponry and the supernatural abilities of each survivor, and while it remains to be seen whether or not this one will revitalise the genre, it's a fresh take on things and I for one am looking forward to giving it a go. So if for some reason you're not excited to see Goldeneye 007 release, then you likely didn't own an N64 back in the day or play slappers only on Facility, but this one has been a long time coming and I'm hyped to see the return of Rare's classic first person shooter. While the original is set to drop exclusively on Nintendo Switch, this 4K resolution remaster is coming to Game Pass, and while we still know very little about it, Rare have confirmed that it will have both local split screen and online multiplayer, and while it would be nice to be able to play through its classic campaign mode again, let's be honest, the only thing that most of us actually care about is that multiplayer mode and being able to battle it out amongst the multi-floored complex with its secret passageways and the depths of the S.T.A.L.K.E.R temple. This is where the real nostalgia kick is going to be, but let's just hope there's a way to ban Oddjob, because playing as that little shit should be an arrestable offence in my opinion. Now, the classic children's tale of Pinocchio is an unlikely candidate to base a game around, but Lies of P aims to put a dark spin on Carlo Collodi's fiction novel, and I know that we've already mentioned one Souls-like on this list, but we're also gluttons for punishment here on the channel, and this one gives us some definite Bloodborne vibes with its neo-Gothic architecture and dark brooding environments. Adopting the role of Pinocchio, a puppet mechanoid left abandoned and memoryless, with your only clue being a note telling you to find Mr. Geppetto, you're tasked with battling your way through the collapsed city of Krat in your fight to become human, and the game looks to have some very interesting mechanics which play into the whole Pinocchio theme, from branching quest lines requiring you to lie to get what you want, to interchangeable body parts granting you new skills and abilities. A promising premise though, and one that we're definitely excited to get our hands on. So a big one now for our penultimate game, and S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 is probably the game that I'm most looking forward to playing, as I spent tens of hours with the original, and this sequel is well past overdue. Now, the whole post-apocalyptic thing has been done and done with the likes of Fallout and the Wasteland games, but S.T.A.L.K.E.R leans more into the survival angle, blending it with FPS and horror elements as you work your way through the Zone, an area of exclusion surrounding the Chernobyl reactor into which stalkers such as yourself venture seeking riches and glory. Unfortunately, the Zone is not only home to other hostile treasure hunters, it also holds a dark secret with ungodly abominations laying in wait, and the landscape itself is littered with strange anomalies, invisible traps which are as valuable as they are deadly. We've so far only really had a glimpse of what this one has to offer, but if it's anything like the first game, then S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 is gonna be a definite must play when it eventually releases. Finishing up then, we couldn't end without mentioning possibly the most hyped game of 2023, as Starfield is set to release sometime next year, and while I do hold some trepidation that this one may not end up being quite what it's cracked up to be, I can't deny that I'm pretty excited to give it a go. Coming from the creators of the Fallout and Elder Scrolls games, Bethesda have dropped the post-apocalyptic and fantasy themes and are instead reaching for the stars, taking us on a galactic journey to answer humanity's greatest mystery. What exactly that mystery is remains to be seen, but from what we know, this one will feature unparalleled freedom as we pilot our ship between over 1,000 planets, explore their environments, battle hostile inhabitants, and gather new equipment and materials to aid us in our quest for answers. As with other games, you can probably expect the usual RPG elements such as leveling up to gain new abilities, plenty of loot to scavenge and crafting mechanics to get stuck into, but the space elements also mean your ship plays an important role too, with you able to fully customise its appearance, recruit new crew members and engage in real-time space combat. Despite a rather lacklustre gameplay reveal showcasing a barren-looking planet and some overly familiar combat mechanics, it's honestly hard not to get hyped over this one. But I recommend, like me, you keep your expectations grounded in reality, and let's just hope that Bethesda doesn't do another Hello Games on us and bite off more than they can chew with Starfield. So as a bit of a bonus entry, Hollow Knight Silksong is a game which may or may not be coming next year, as the developers have been very quiet and fans of the original await its arrival with bated breath, with only a hint of a 2020 release coming from Microsoft. Heralded as one of the best Metroidvanias of this generation though, Hollow Knight had you exploring a beautiful bug-filled world, battling bosses, evolving your skills and abilities and seeking the source of a supernatural sickness that now plagues this once prosperous kingdom. A lot of unintentional alliteration there, I know, but Silksong was originally intended to be a DLC for the original game before becoming a fully fledged sequel. And while we don't have much to go by in terms of what it has in store for us, we do know that we'll be playing as Hornet, a princess protector of Hollow Nest, exploring new lands as we embark on a pilgrimage to ascend to the kingdom's peak. And just like the original, we can expect plenty of challenge in the way of enemies, boss battles and all new beast hunts. Like the rest of you though, we eagerly await a release date announcement for Silksong and can't wait to get our hands on this one. And so that is our list of most anticipated Game Pass releases of 2023. Are you looking forward to any of the games on our list, or have you got your sights set on something else? As always, be sure to let us know down in the comments section below. Also, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more Xbox content, including reviews, weekly deals, graphical comparisons and top game lists. And with that said, I want to thank you all once again for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Thanks everybody, take care.